Acme.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The lives we lost today were lives given in the service of liberty, the service of security, the service of others, in the service of America. Like their fellow brothers and sisters in arms who died defending our vision and our values in the struggle against terrorism, of the fall on this day, they're part of a great and noble company of American heroes. To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay. I will defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command.
And the evacuation continues. It's Friday, you bastards. So here are the latest numbers out of Afghanistan, and there are a lot of numbers, okay? We have evacuated since August 14th, 105,000 people. Since July, we have evacuated 110,000 people. There are about 500 Americans that want to leave, still in the country, who are working with the State Department right now to get flights out. 500. We lost 13 soldiers yesterday. 170 Afghans were killed by a suicide bomber with ISIS yesterday. We have 5,000 troops left on the ground and 4 days to get the hell out of Dodge. The evacuation continues. And yes, there is still a terrorist threat from ISIS looming over the people of Afghanistan, the Americans who are trying to get flights out, 500 of them, thousands of Afghans, and 5,000 soldiers who only have control of the inside perimeter of the Kabul International Airport. And we have to get all of those people out in 4 days. And you know what? We will. That's the thing. We will. All of the people who are criticizing this amazing, unbelievable sack of crap that Joe Biden inherited from Donald Trump, everyone who's saying, we have to go back in there, we have to go back in there. You know what? Look inside America. The threat that we face here from Donald Trump's insurgents is far greater, according to the FBI, according to the Department of Homeland Security, and anybody in federal government who is tasked with monitoring threats to American democracy will tell you that the threat from the Trump insurgents is white supremacists, militia guys, Proud Boys, 3%ers, Trump loyalists who are just allowing themselves to be mismanaged with fake news, getting medical advice off of Facebook, getting political advice off of Twitter, getting political advice off of Getter. We're in deep doo-doo here. We're in a world of hurt here. Do not take the ISIS bait that is being chummed over there with the blood of Afghans and Americans. Do not take the bait. We are out of there, and we now have to look inward and protect American democracy from the insurgents with whom we share a citizenry with. That is a fact. Afghanistan is going to devolve into a civil war. That is what is happening. That is why ISIS attacked the Afghan citizenry, working with the Taliban to get safe passage to the airport and into the loving arms of Americans and allies of Americans get onto their airplanes. That is why ISIS attacked. They started their civil war yesterday. The civil war will be between ISIS and the Taliban because apparently the Taliban isn't ludicrous enough, isn't religious enough, isn't violent enough, isn't tribal enough, isn't, they don't hate women enough. They don't hate children enough. You see that here in America, what we also have is an insurgency that hates children and will sacrifice them to their god, Donald Trump. They hate women. They call themselves incels, involuntarily celibate. They call themselves proud misogynists. That's what the Proud Boys are. That's what they're proud of. You ever wonder what they're proud of? They're proud of their hatred for women. They are violent. They are tribal. And the religiosity in this country is off the charts to the point where people will say they won't have an offense against a virus, only a defense. Going to the hospital, getting Regeneron infusions. They have a defense, but they won't mount an offense to a virus. We're in deep trouble here. Deep trouble. But today, the crowds are gathering once again at Kabul airport. You know why? That is give me liberty or give me death. Give me liberty or give me death does not mean I won't wear a mask. I won't get a vaccine that's been studied for 10 years and has been administered to over 1 billion people safely and effectively around the globe. That's not give me liberty or give me death. That's uber religiosity. That's uber loyalty to a failed ideology. That's martyring your children in service to a failed ideology. It is tribal and it is uber religious. It's also violence. It's violence against people who, through no fault of their own, need a bed in a hospital but can't get one because of the COVID patients who only have a defense. They will not mount the best offense we have, which is vaccinations, and mask on up. But remember, ISIS is the one you fear, okay? You're afraid of ISIS because, we went on this killing spree and we killed ISIS. Of course, Donald Trump claimed that he had 100% success wiping ISIS off the face of the earth. All evidence yesterday to the contrary. By the way, ISIS did take credit for this suicide bombing, and there was only one explosion, and that was at the Kabul airport. There was not a second explosion. But in the fog of war, the first thing that you lose is clarity. You lose the crystal vision. So the story is going to change as we move along. And in fact, today the numbers of dead changed from 12 dead soldiers to 13 dead Marines, and 170 Afghans from 90-something Afghans. So the story is going to change. But this is the man that proclaimed that, the earth was completely free of ISIS fighters. And here we were attacked yesterday. Our allies, our visa holders, our green card holders, and Americans were attacked yesterday by ISIS. By ISIS. Because Donald Trump surrendered us over there. And a civil war is about to start between... not radical enough. You could think of ISIS as the QAnon group here. And the Taliban as just like the uber evangelicals. Yeah. And they're going to fight each other. It's like the QAnon of Islamic extremism is fighting, the moderate Taliban. No, the only reason why we're working with the Taliban is because Trump left us no choice. No choice. He surrendered us to them in 2020, drew us down to 2,500 troops, and then left. And actually bragged about it at an Ohio rally. They tried to stop this, but they couldn't. I put it in motion. I did it.
A things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Thank you, Jen. When the president says, we will hunt you down and make you pay, what does that look like? Is he going to order a mission to kill the people responsible, or would he be satisfied if they are captured and brought to trial?
I think he made clear yesterday that he does not want them to live on the earth anymore.
Oh, wow. Oh, you know, you just say it flat out like that. It's just so brutal. So brutal. But, you know, that's war is what it is. General McKenzie yesterday, we're hunting him down.
This time, we know that 12 U.S. service members have been killed in the attack, and 15 more service members have been injured. A number of Afghan civilians were also killed and injured in the attack. We are treating some of them aboard HKIA. Many other Afghan civilians have been taken out to hospitals in town. We're still working to calculate the total losses. We just don't know what that is right now. Let me be clear. While we're saddened by the loss of life, both U.S. and Afghan, we're continuing to execute the mission. Our mission is to evacuate U.S. citizens, third country nationals, special immigrant visa holders, U.S. Embassy staff, and Afghans at risk. Despite this attack, we are continuing the mission.
Wow.
The evacuation at best speed, and as of today, we have approximately 5,000 evacuees on the ramp at HKIA awaiting airlift. Yes, if we can find who's associated with this, we will go after them. We've been clear all along that we're going to retain the right to operate against ISIS in Afghanistan. And we are working very hard right now to determine attribution, to determine who is associated with this cowardly attack, and we're prepared to take action against them. 24/7, we are looking for them.
There's going to be some dead people. I see dead people is what it is. So we're still continuing the mission. We're still going forward with it. We have about 105,000 evacuated in just the last week and a half. I mean, it's amazing. This was this is an ongoing State Department briefing. Wait, let me see. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Ned Price at the State Department giving a briefing right now, but this was what he said about the numbers of Americans.
As you've heard, from 3 a.m. Eastern on August 26th until 3 a.m. Eastern on August 27th, a total of approximately 12,500 people were evacuated from Kabul. This is the result of 35 U.S. military flights, which carried approximately 8,500 evacuees, and 54 coalition flights, which carried approximately 4,000 people. Since August 14th, the U.S. has evacuated and facilitated the evacuation of approximately 105,000 people. Since the end of July, we have relocated approximately 110,600 people. Of those evacuated since August 14th, we have brought to safety at least 5,100 U.S. citizens, and likely more. Within the last day, more than 300 additional Americans were evacuated. There are approximately 500 American citizens we are currently working with who want to leave and with whom we are communicating directly to facilitate their evacuations. Thanks to an ongoing, aggressive outreach campaign that consists of multiple outbound messages per day by phone, by text message, by email, and other tools, we are communicating with several hundred American citizens who have not yet determined whether they want to leave for various reasons.
Right.
Last night alone, we reached out to every American whom we believe may be in Afghanistan and attempting to leave. In many cases, we did this again multiple times, by phone, by email, by text. We continue to reach out to anyone who makes contact with us through multiple means, which over the past week has included tens of thousands of calls, emails, texts, WhatsApp messages, and other tactics.
It is an amazing effort. It truly is. And this has been going on for really a long time, where they've been sending out emails and text messages. And, you know, you see Afghanistan has sort of kind of modernized in this way. When you look at people in Afghanistan, they all have cell phones now. Okay, so that's progress for Afghanistan. But they have cell phones now, and Americans have cell phones now, and they freaking work now. And they have sent text messages, emails. They have made phone calls. to any and every American that the State Department knows about, any American at all. Now, like I said from the beginning, you're going to have a few hundred dual citizens, meaning people who are citizens of Afghanistan and citizens of the United States. Yes, you could have dual citizenship, who don't want to leave because their families don't qualify for evacuation. So you're going to see several hundred Americans for whatever reason. Some Americans are just going to stay behind with no family there because they're committed to helping the Afghan people. Some Americans are just very attached to the Afghans after years of work in that country, and they would prefer to stay. So you're going to have several hundred Americans who are going to refuse to leave, refuse to take the State Department up on any help to evacuate. They don't want to leave. That's just a fact. That's going to happen. But that's why it was so important the other day when we heard the briefing from the State Department where we said to the leaders of the Taliban, the Afghan leaders, we said to them, you know, you should allow anyone who wants to leave Afghanistan after the 31st to leave Afghanistan, to come and go. You should be able to, figure out how to let people, come and go. That would be ideal. But we don't know what the Taliban's going to do. They're going to be involved in a civil war with ISIS. There's no question. It started yesterday. That is totally what's going on there, with all the hours of explanation on the TV about this and that and that and this and, revenge and everything else. Trust me, there's a civil war. It's going to go on in Afghanistan, just like it did prior to our invasion. There was the Northern Alliance. I don't know how many people remember the Lion of the Pashtun Valley, Masood. He was our guy, okay? He was the Northern Alliance Taliban leader who was fighting against the bad Taliban leader. I mean, this is how tribal Afghanistan is. It's what goes on there. And so now you're going to have the Taliban being the moderates here. Moderates, because they only hate women and they only do certain kinds of violence and they only are tribal over here and there. Their religiosity is only like a 9 on the scale of 1 to 10, where ISIS is an 11, right? I mean, this is really what's going on there. And they will go after each other just like they always did in that country. It's what that country does. They are war fighters, and it's what they do. And America is starting to look more like that than Afghanistan is looking like America. Although some progress over 20 years was made in Afghanistan with regard to educating women, to giving people access to information and cell phones. There is a news channel there in Afghanistan now called Tolo. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You can see it on YouTube. They do speak, Pashtun. But you can see it. I mean, it's a real news network. They have female anchors, and now the women anchors are interviewing the Taliban. It's so bizarre. They also have a version of America's Got Talent. They have their own version of The Voice. They have their own version of Family Feud. I'm not kidding. It really exists. It's called T-O-L-O, Tolo.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Mr. President, there had not been a U.S. service member killed in combat in Afghanistan since February of 2020. You set a deadline, you pulled troops out, you sent troops back in, and now 12 Marines are dead. You said the buck stops with you. Do you bear any responsibility for the way that things have unfolded in the last 2 weeks?
I bear responsibility for fundamentally all that's happened of late. But here's the deal. You know, I wish you'd one day say these things. You know as well as I do that the former president made a deal with the Taliban.
Yeah.
That he would get all American forces out of Afghanistan by May 1. In return, the commitment was made, and that was a year before. In return, he was given a commitment that the Taliban would continue to attack others, but would not attack any American forces. Remember that?
I do.
I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you a question. Because before... No, wait a minute. I'm asking you a question. Is that accurate, the best of your knowledge? What?
Peter Ducey. I think he's praying for Peter Ducey. Throw a brain.
I think they have an issue that people are likely to get hurt. Some, as we've seen, have gotten killed, and that it is messy. The reason why, whether my friend will acknowledge it or has reported it, the reason why there were no attacks on Americans, as you said, from the date until I came into office, was because the commitment was made by President Trump, I will be out by May 1st. In the meantime, you agree not to attack any Americans. That was the deal. That's why no American was attacked.
That's true. That's exactly true. Donald Trump made a deal with the Taliban, surrendered us to the Taliban, literally plucked out of a Pakistani prison, Mullah Baradar, handed him Afghanistan, okay, told him he could have Afghanistan. This guy picked the Haqqani network to be his military commander, this Baradar. He's a butcher. Baradar is a guy that used to call, he literally brought improvised explosive devices into the Afghan war as a feature, okay, of what the Taliban would do to our soldiers. He called it planting flowers. And he literally invented and brought into Afghanistan the use of improvised explosive devices. Okay, so that's who Donald Trump picked to come out of a Pakistani prison. That man, Baradar, picked the Haqqani network to be the military sort of the Secretary of Defense for the Taliban, okay? That's what they... And this all was a year before the May 1st withdrawal date that was negotiated by Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump. In the meantime, they also, the Taliban, this Baradar dude and the Haqqani network insisted that in order to keep the Taliban from murdering any more Americans, they empty their prisons. They wanted the Al-Qaeda network guys, they wanted the ISIS dudes, all released from prison, 5,000 of them. And Trump and Pompeo gave them that with no concessions except you won't kill an American soldier. In the meantime, those guys over there that were in the jail came out of the jail and they attacked a Shia girls' school. Okay, this is why it cracks me up when I hear H.R. McMaster. You know, he actually puts the blame at the foot of Donald Trump for the surrender, because you know H.R. McMaster he wants to continue fighting war. I mean, he wants his forever war back. It's not to say that he's a good guy or anything like that, or that Liz Cheney is a good woman or anything like that. It's just that they tell the truth about what happened to end their forever war. And the thing that happened that's truthful about what ended their forever war was Donald Trump's surrender. That's why they're willing to say that Donald Trump did this, because they want their forever war back. They are war hawks. They advocate for war constantly. In fact, now they want to go back into Afghanistan. That's the crazy part. And McMaster, you know, I had a phone call yesterday from somebody who said that McMaster was on the TV early in the morning yesterday, which I hadn't seen. And he's saying, oh, there's no difference between ISIS and the Taliban and the Haqqani network, and they're all one. Well, remember that these are people who invaded Afghanistan who didn't know the difference between Sunni and Shia, okay? And now they're trying to sell you some idea that they're all the same. They're not all the same, okay? And the way that you could think about it is exactly the way I gave you, and that is think about ISIS, ISIS-K, which is a Pakistani outfit, okay? Just know that. ISIS-K, the K stands for the Khorasan region. That is the, Waziristan, Pakistani border region between Afghanistan and Pakistan. These were the guys that when you hear McMaster say, oh, and what happened after he surrendered, you saw these guys come in from Pakistan into Afghanistan. That's what he's talking about. Those are the ISIS fighters. That Donald Trump lied to you and said he had wiped off the face of the earth. No. He didn't wipe them off the face of the earth. They moved. They literally moved. They left Syria, they left Iraq, and they moved to this Pakistan border region with Afghanistan. And as soon as he said, we'll be out on May 1st, they came on back in and demanded their brethren be released from prisons in Afghanistan where the Taliban had jailed them. And they did it. They literally opened up the freaking prisons so that ISIS was on the beat, okay? ISIS launched an attack against, well, there were hundreds of attacks, hundreds of them during this period of peace. One of the most brutal ones was against a Shia girls' school in Afghanistan, in Kabul. And ISIS not only attacked that girls' school and set a bomb there, but set a double bomb so that when the girls came running out of the school, as survivors of the first bombing, they were killed in the second bombing. That is what McMaster was trying to explain to you.
I don't think it was a stalemate from the perspective of the Taliban until the capitulation agreement that was signed by our Secretary of State in 2020. You know, our Secretary of State signed a surrender agreement to the Taliban.
You're talking about Mike Pompeo.
Yes. And do you know what happened next? The Taliban began to marshal weapons and fighters. They left Pakistan, began to marshal for a major offensive, timed for about this time, right? Planned well in advance. Planned, by the way, by Siraj Haqqani, who's a member of Al-Qaeda and the military commander of the Taliban. Okay, tell me again how there's this bold line, you know, between the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. It's laughable, right? And then what they did is they went to Afghan commanders at various levels and said, hey, here's your alternatives. The Americans already told you they're abandoning you. So either we can come to an agreement, you know, where we'll give you some payout, we'll give you free passage and everything, or the alternative is we're going to kill you and your families.
Okay, the thing that's been conflated in that little explanation is that the people who came in from Pakistan were ISIS. That's who came in from Pakistan. These were a bunch of Pakistani fighters. There's the estimate is about 2,000 of them, plus the 5,000 released from the prisons in Afghanistan. Great.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
How about that for a deal? And so that's why you saw the collapse. This collapse goes back to the capitulation agreement of 2020. I mean, the Taliban didn't defeat us. We defeated ourselves. And what's worse is we threw the Afghans under the bus on our way out. Hey, if we were just going to leave, why the hell didn't we just leave? Why did we force them to release 5,000 of some of the most heinous people on earth, who immediately went back to terrorizing the Afghan people? And before the ink was even dry, right, on this capitulation agreement, they were attacking maternity hospitals, gunning down expectant mothers and infants. They were setting bombs in girls' schools and setting secondary bombs up outside, so as they fled the initial explosion, they could kill more of them, right? This is the enemy who we surrendered to. And I'll tell you, I think it's a travesty. But it begins with our enabling the psychological defeat of the Afghan forces and the Afghan government.
So that's H.R. McMaster, who really does want his forever war. The reason why he's so unhappy about Trump's surrender to the Taliban, unhappy enough to tell you what happened in our surrender to the Taliban, is because he wants his forever war. That's his goal in telling people that he wants you to know that Donald Trump surrendered. Now, the point of me telling you that Donald Trump surrendered is so you can understand that all that's left in Afghanistan now is the Taliban. There's no government. Why isn't there a government? Because Donald Trump left them out of the negotiations. The government, the army, the Afghan army, those were our trainees. Those were our army guys. Those were our Air Force guys. We trained an Afghan Air Force. We created the first female Afghan pilot. All right, we armed them, we trained them, we taught them how to have an Air Force, how to fly. You know, I don't know if you know this, but 60% of the Taliban, 60% of Afghanistan actually, is illiterate. And by that I mean they can't read. So We trained people. We educated people. we created an Afghan government, an Afghan military, and Donald Trump betrayed all of them. All of them. When he was surrendering to the Taliban, he left the Afghan government. He left the Afghan military. Oh, out of the negotiation, they weren't even at the table. They weren't even at the table. And in that entire year between the surrender and the May 1st exit date, Donald Trump left all of our equipment. He left all of our MRAPs, our Humvees. He left our drones. He left, you name it. He left fixed wing aircraft there. He left everything to sit there. He didn't evacuate any of the Americans at all. The evacuation started in July. And since July, we were able to get a total of 110,000 people. But in the last 2 weeks alone, not even 2 weeks, we evacuated the majority of our Afghan allies, Americans. There were 6,000 total Americans in Afghanistan on August 14th. 6,000. Now there are 500 that want to leave, that will get out. That's it. That's all that's left. Then we've got our 5,000 troops that we have to get out, and we have to get this freaking equipment out of there. Trump left such a mess on purpose to hobble Joe Biden's presidency. He literally did that because he was jealous. Because he was jealous of Joe Biden's win. It's unbelievable that a man could get away with sabotaging our country and our national interests in a far-flung place by declaring an end to a war, right, with an end date, losing all your leverage, and then not even using that period of time to evacuate Americans, not even using that period of time to get our equipment out of there, not even use that period of time to do anything at all. Nothing. Except empty the prisons, pluck a guy out of a Pakistani prison and hand him the government, hand him the country. That's what, I mean, and all because he wanted to hobble the next president. He wanted to make us operate as a country from a deficit that he created. Oh my God, it's so sick. It's so but it really did happen, and you know what happened because last night he was on Sean Hannity's show. And you know, if people don't want us to talk about Donald Trump anymore, then tell Donald Trump to shut up. Tell him to just go away like all former presidents do. Because the president of the United States, we only have one at a time. Joe Biden clearly said there yesterday, I take full responsibility. I bear the full responsibility of everything that's happening in Afghanistan of late. But don't you forget what I inherited. But I take full responsibility for every decision I've made and every decision I will make. But Donald Trump was on last night, and I swear to God, he has terrorist envy. I swear, he's jealous of Barack Obama being able to locate Osama bin Laden. And where was Osama bin Laden, by the way, just so you know, just to refresh? Pakistan. You understand that Pakistan's been playing this double game this whole time. You know that, right? Okay, good. Because that's really the problem. But Trump literally blows off bin Laden as a one-hit wonder. And that the terrorist that he killed, al-Baghdadi, was bigger. He was bigger.
We took out the founder of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, and then, of course, Soleimani. Now, just so you understand, Soleimani is bigger by many, many times than Osama bin Laden. The founder of ISIS is bigger by many, many times, al-Baghdadi, than Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden had one hit, and it was a bad one in New York City, the World Trade Center. But these other two guys were monsters. They were monsters.
What the? Bin Laden doesn't rise to monster level. The man literally. And by the way, he wasn't a one-hit wonder. I think Donald Trump has Osama bin Laden confused with Norman Greenbaum, who wrote Spirit in the Sky. That's a one-hit wonder. Osama bin Laden attacked in 1993 the World Trade Center the first time with the blind shake. Osama bin Laden was responsible for the 2000 attack on the USS Cole. Osama bin Laden attacked the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. And finally, Osama bin Laden attacked the United States on U.S. soil by, having 15 Saudi Arabians fly airplanes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. I mean, the man lies so much he doesn't even understand, that bin Laden didn't do just one thing, and he's not a one-hit wonder. But think about what this man is telling you. He's got terrorist envy. He's saying he took out bigger, badder terrorists that. Oh my God! I don't think he knows what being president of the United States entails. Osama bin Laden was not Chumbawamba, okay? Remember tub thumping? One-hit wonder. Osama bin Laden was not a one-hit wonder. Osama bin Laden was a mastermind of terrorism all across this globe, including here. I don't know, And then we had President Barack Obama track down Osama bin Laden and have him killed in Abbottabad, Pakistan, where he was being harbored by the Pakistani intelligence and the Pakistani military. I mean, but these other guys were monsters. You get the feeling he doesn't even mean evil monsters. Like, he thinks more like Monsters of Rock or something, because he calls them a one-hit wonder. I mean, it's just so sick and sad how this man distorts and just makes people who are loyal to him say, yeah, Osama bin Laden was nothing. What? He is the most twisted president we have ever suffered through. And we've had some bad ones, but this man was totally a fraud, totally twisted. His value system was me first, nothing after that, nothing. It's just me first. And if I can't have it, no one else can. I will sabotage it. I will destroy it. I will hurt it. I will set it up for failure. And by it, I mean our freaking country. That is what he did. Now, if he wants everybody to shut up about him, or the people who are loyal to him want me to shut up about him, then you tell him to shut up. Stop having rallies where you say, oh, I started the whole evacuation in motion and now they can't stop it. Just stop saying stupid things on the night where we lost 170 Afghan allies who obviously were screened and ready to come out of Afghanistan, and 13 Marines. Don't go on the TV and say what you did was bigger and badder. It's just so sick and wrong.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
In Florida, the new hotbed of the pandemic, ambulance services overwhelmed by emergency calls.
We have multiple COVID patients that want transportation.
Nationwide, more than 100,000 COVID patients in hospital ICUs. The crisis most acute in Florida, where the hospitalization rate has tripled in just the last month. At Tampa General, the COVID ward today at 90% capacity, 3 times what they've had at the highest point last year.
It's really it's like nothing I've ever seen.
Florida hospitals now reporting 90% of those admitted were unvaccinated.
It feels like it's almost worse than it was when it started last year. The patients we're getting are younger, and they're turning sicker much faster.
Florida's governor today encouraging vaccines, but actively pushing back against mask mandates.
You just have to understand it's going to be part of life. And there's ways to protect yourself on the front end. There's also ways to treat yourself on the back end.
Emergency rooms like Baptist Hospital here in Miami-Dade were reluctant to put up tents like these because we're in hurricane season. But tonight, exhausted doctors say they had no choice.
Thank you, Donald Trump. 630,000 Americans have died, and the man literally stood there and lied about the threat that we faced as Americans from a virus. This anti-mask crap that goes on, this is another part of Trump's legacy. You understand that? The way that this man had put so much time and attention and detail into hobbling America, breaking America, making America sick, making America suffer, it was all because he didn't want anybody else to have it, let alone succeed in governing. It's an amazing thing. And if the people out there want us to stop talking about the legacy of Donald Trump, then you can tell Donald Trump and Fox News and OAN and One News Network or whatever to just tell him to shut up. Just stop talking already. He won't stop talking. He's still having freaking rallies. He's still promoting a big lie. He's still telling people, don't wear a mask. You have your freedoms. I took the vaccine, but you don't need to take the vaccine. He's still trying to divide this country and kill Americans so that no one else can govern. Don't you get that the idea of anti-masking is part of the Trump ideology? Don't you get that? I mean, Trumpers that are out there that are calling me going, well, why don't you just stop talking? Because he won't shut up. And his legacy is dead Americans. A lot of them, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And today, we found out 43,000 people have died in Florida. We're at the peak of it now here. 43,000. Ron DeSantis, who is mini Trump, okay? He won his election here in Florida by 32,000 votes. He's managed to preside over 43,000 deaths that are preventable. So what is the point? Because if they can't have it, no one else can. Don't you get it? Don't you understand? I mean, you have this whole anti-mask movement.
If you guys can't figure out by now the science is ridiculous, then you're probably driving around in your car with a mask on by yourself, and I can't help you at this point, nor do I want to. It's not my job. I appreciate what you want to do for you and your family. I would appreciate it if you respected what I did for me and my family, because that's where we live, the United States of America. God bless America. The end.
It's the Taliban, everybody. It is. Or ISIS. I don't know which one. Depends. If you're a QAnon person, you're ISIS. And if you're a non-QAnon but a Trump supporter, with his record of death, with his record of surrender, with his record of dealing with the devil, then you're the Taliban. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to tell you, but we are literally dying from something that is totally preventable. We're overwhelming our hospitals. The hospitals are playing musical chairs. You understand that, don't you? Here's the thing, okay? We have people who have treatable conditions like gallstones, kidney stones, who are literally dying because there is no room at the inn. No one can take them. I'm going to play you the story. This is the saddest thing. This is an Afghan veteran who refused to get vaccinated. Well, no. This is an Afghan veteran who I believe had a gallstone. And he's dead now. In Florida. That's the Florida report. Hang on. Here he is.
This was U.S. Army veteran Daniel Wilkinson on an emergency room stretcher shortly before he died.
He loved his country. He served 2 deployments over in Afghanistan, came home with a Purple Heart, and it was a gallstone that took him out.
Last Saturday, Wilkinson's mother, Michelle Puget, rushed him to Belleville Medical Center, just 3 doors down from their home.
Oh, my God.
But for Wilkinson, help was still too far away.
I do labs on him. I get labs, and the labs come back, and I'm at the computer, and I have one of those oh crap moments.
ER Dr. Hassan Kakli treated Wilkinson, and he discovered that he had gallstone pancreatitis, something the Belleville Hospital was not equipped to treat.
If that stone doesn't spontaneously come out and doesn't resolve itself, that fluid just builds up, backs up into the liver, backs up into the pancreas, and starts to shut down those organs. His blood work even showed that his kidneys were shutting down.
This went from life-threatening to...
He's dying.
In front of you?
Yes.
Wilkinson needed a higher level of care, but with hospitals across Texas and much of the South overwhelmed with COVID patients, there was no place for him.
We're making phone calls. Sorry. Places had the specialist to do the procedure, but because of how sick he was, they didn't have an ICU bed to put him.
Right.
So then I'm at my computer and I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, and I get this thought in my head. I'm like, oh, what if I put this on Facebook or something? Maybe someone can help out. One doc messaged me, hey, I'm in Missouri. Last time I checked, we have ICU beds. We can do this. Call this number. The next guy messages me. He's a GI specialist. He goes, I'm in Austin. I can do his procedure. Get him over to me. I said, okay, great, let's go. He texts me back 5 minutes later. I'm sorry. I can't get administrative approval to accept him. We're full.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Roughly 24 hours after he walked into the emergency room, Daniel Wilkinson died at the age of 46.
46?
I've never lost a patient from this diagnosis.
Oh, my God.
Never. Because we know what needs to be done, and we know how to treat it, and we get them to where they need to go. I'm scared that the next patient that I see is someone that I can't get to where they need to get to. We are playing musical chairs with 100 people and 10 chairs. When the music stops, what happens? People from all over the world come to Houston to get medical care. And right now, Houston can't take care of patients from the next town over. That's the reality.
That's so sad. That is so pathetic. People do go to Houston for medical care from all over the world, and now a man who lives 3 doors down from a hospital can't get a gallstone treated because he's further along in the diagnosis and needs to be in the ICU to have a gastroenterologist, do a procedure. Well, there's no room at the ICU for him. So another Afghan vet dies from a gallstone diagnosis. This doctor is clearly telling you, I have never lost a patient with his diagnosis. I never have. This is crisis care, and this is what we were left. This was the handoff. This was the plan. This was with an anti-mask population.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This particular surge with the Delta variant is affecting children in a very pronounced way, unlike any of the earlier surges that we had seen. And so about 22 or 23% of all of the new COVID cases nationally are among children and adolescents, about 28% of the cases here in Louisiana. As you said, children under 12 don't have the option of vaccination, so that's an entirely unvaccinated group. And even among those between 13 and 17, let's say, the vaccination rate here in Louisiana is only about 13%.
Okay.
So we have a long way to go with vaccinating adolescents as well. In our own hospital here, almost all of the children older than 12 who are vaccine eligible, who've been admitted with COVID, are unvaccinated. And in fact, are in families where the adults are unvaccinated as well.
Why? So now today we find out that the the percentage of new COVID cases in children is 36%. 36% of all new COVID cases are in children. Donia in Missouri.
Donia.
Donia, hi.
Hi. You were talking earlier about the anti-mask people and stuff and Trump. And, I love President Trump. And I do not wear a mask, and I will not wear a mask.
Why?
Unless it's a hospital.
Why?
Or a doctor's office.
Why?
Because I think it's ridiculous.
Why?
I think it's stupid.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why? Why do you think
I'm not
that?
a child.
Why do you think that?
Because it's stupid.
Why?
Why would I wear? I can't breathe in one for one, and it looks stupid. It feels stupid. Nobody can breathe in them comfortably.
I can.
And it's just ridiculous. Well, then you wear one.
I do.
I'm not.
Wait,
and as far as and like the vaccination thing,
wait.
I ain't getting vaccinated either.
You're not getting vaccinated either. Okay.
No,
so-
ma'am, I will not.
Okay.
I'm not going to be somebody's guinea pig.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So what we have here is a respiratory virus, meaning it is transmitted from person to person by your droplets in your nose and mouth.
Well, that's good. I guess my nose better stay where it belongs. And as far as the droplets go, they don't drop on nobody.
What if you sneeze? What if you cough?
What if?
What if you laugh?
I've done
What
it
if
many
you
times.
laugh?
I still do. So what?
That's how.
What, are we
it's
going to live in fear
transmitted.
for the rest of our lives?
No, but what's wrong with a good offense?
A good what?
Offense.
Offset for what? Why didn't they do it for the flu?
Offense, you know, like offense, defense, right? So what?
Oh, offense.
Yes, the flu.
Well, I don't care. I don't need an offense.
You don't need one.
No, ma'am. I got God.
How do you win the game?
I got God. I don't need nothing else.
So you're uber religious. You won't protect children.
No, I'm not over. No, ma'am, I'm not over religious.
You just said you trust a respiratory virus to God.
I didn't not. You put words in my mouth. I never once said I trust the respiratory virus. No, I did not.
Okay, say it again.
I said, so what?
Say it again.
Say you ask the question again.
I didn't ask you a question. You said you trust God.
That's right. I do. I trust God. I trust God for everything.
Your religiosity is going to protect you from a respiratory virus.
Honey, you people need to quit coming up with these weird words. Religiosity. I've never heard that word in my whole entire life.
Well, then you should read more, because that's a word, and it's an acceptable word to describe having a faith in God for protection from a virus.
There is no, that is not, ma'am, that is not in the Bible.
You don't pray.
That is not in the Bible.
You don't pray that a child doesn't get infected because you won't protect them.
No, I don't pray that way anyway. I don't pray that way anyway.
I thought you're supposed to protect the children.
Well, how did we get on the children all of a sudden? The children are not even...
Because you are a grown woman, and children below the age of 12 can't get vaccinated, can't.
Honey,
so
I don't.
It's your
I don't know what to tell you on that.
It's
if I had a
job
child,
as the grown adult
that is
in
not
the room
my job. You're
to
wrong.
protect children who can't get vaccinated, who can't protect themselves.
Good. I'm not protecting
Where
nobody.
am I wrong
when
here?
I can't,
Where am I wrong? What is wrong with what
You're
I
wrong
just...
all the way around.
Tell me how.
You're completely wrong.
Tell me how.
First of all, this so-called vaccine is not even proven to be safe and effective.
It is.
And I ain't putting something in my body that has not been tested for a few years to make sure it's safe and effective. This vaccine ain't even been out long enough to say it's safe and effective. Plus, they had a booster. The booster came out before the vaccine.
I'm sorry, everybody. I can't. I'm sorry. I tried. I tried my best. There is just no way. This vaccine is literally 10 years old, okay? Coronavirus vaccines are literally 10 years old or older. This idea that the Food and Drug Administration gave it full FDA approval is based on science, on its safety and efficacy. The world has given over 1 billion of these vaccines to people. The United States has administered more than 300 million of these vaccines. This idea of it not being tested, or that she won't wear a mask, or she won't get vaccinated, and she feels no obligation as the adult in the room to protect children. She doesn't even get the connection between the two ideas. I'm so sorry. I cannot help her. She's dangerous. She is a spreader. She is somebody that refuses to have an offense, doesn't understand what an offense is, doesn't understand how the virus is spread, that it's a respiratory virus, doesn't understand that A simple little thing like covering her nose and mouth would protect everybody else. She's going to end up being a burden on society in some public hospital, and that's the way that's going to end. And I can't help her. I'm sorry. Linda in Texas.
Yes, I was listening to the tragic story of the veteran. Now, I'm a veteran, and I go to the VA hospital here in Texas. And I had a lot of faith in the fact that veterans are taken care of by the VA.
Have you ever tried it?
Yes, I try it all the time. I get all of my care through the VA.
Well, you're lucky.
Why wasn't a VA hospital contacted about this man's condition and had him flown to a VA hospital?
Because there's no room at the hospitals. The hospitals in Texas are overwhelmed. The hospitals.
No, I'm specifically talking about the VA hospital. There's a huge.
Are you in Texas?
Yes. I go to Michael Idibeki Hospital.
So was he.
Houston.
Oh my God. There's no room at the hospitals, the VA hospitals, the public hospitals, the private hospitals. There's no room in their ICUs. I don't know that VAs even have ICUs, but there's no room at the ICU. The man needed intensive care. He needed an ICU bed. There was nothing available.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Dr. Cackley says if we weren't in this crisis, it would have taken him 30 minutes to get Daniel out the door. It took 7 hours. There are 102 people in the Houston area waiting for an ICU bed right now. And I called the county executive, Judge Lena Hidalgo, and I said, Judge, can you not open a field hospital and put these people somewhere? And she said, David, I can, and I'm ready. But she said, what I'm hearing from the hospital executives are, we have more beds, we just don't have the nurses. They got 700 nurses that arrived in Houston last week, and it's still not enough to meet the demand.
I don't know what people don't get about this being a pandemic of monumental proportions. Oh, well, you know, he's a veteran. He should have gone to the VA hospital. Apparently, there was no room at the VA hospital, okay? They were on the phone trying to find this man an ICU bed for 7 hours. He was airlifted to Houston, but he never, ever was able to get an ICU bed or the care he needed, and he died. This is a pandemic, people. This is crisis care mode. Don't you get it? Don't you get what you're contributing to when you call me up and say, I'm not getting vaccinated, I'm not going to wear... There's no room at the hospitals anymore. The ICU beds, sometimes there's beds, but there's no nurses. Oh, that's a good deal, right? Why didn't they this? Why didn't they that? Oh, yeah, okay. So they didn't do what you imagined should have been done. It was done. There's no room. There's no space. There's no staff. Florida is running out of oxygen. Seriously, Florida is running out of oxygen. 68 Florida hospitals have less than 48 hours worth of oxygen left because of the amount of oxygen that is being pumped into people's lungs to keep them breathing. And the model for the United States is predicting 100,000 more COVID-19 deaths unless people change their evil ways. And Donia is not going to change her evil way. She's not going to do anything to prevent. She's not going to do anything to protect. She's not going to do anything to serve others. She is going to not get vaccinated and not wear a mask. And that is why we are predicting, I'm not, medical. The United States is projected to see nearly 100,000 more COVID deaths between now and December 1st, according to the forecasting model. This is from the University of Texas COVID-19 Modeling Consortium. Quote, We cannot stop Delta in its tracks, but we can change our behavior overnight. That means doubling down on masks, limiting social gatherings, staying home when sick, and getting vaccinated. These things are within our control. The University of Washington State, the University of Washington, they predict an additional 98,000 Americans will die by the start of December. The overall death rate, they believe, will be 730,000 before Christmas. We will see 1,400 deaths by mid-September each day. Each day. That's the next month. And that is not including the people who will die of preventable diseases like the gallstone Afghan vet, or a stroke, or a heart attack, or a bypass surgery that's needed. That's not even counting those ancillary deaths, those deaths that could be avoided, prevented, if there was room at the inn. Donia, you're a fool. Donna in California.
Hi, Randy. I was just calling to commend you on your amazing patience with Sonia and the fact that she felt it wasn't her responsibility to protect others, including children, and God would protect her. What about the religious tenet, you are your brother's keeper? And as far as putting something strange into her body that she wasn't sure of, she sounded like a really heavy smoker, and she clearly doesn't have a problem with putting that in her body. Thank you for the work you do, Randy.
Thank you. Here's a fact. We could save 50,000 lives, Donia, or whatever your name is, by wearing masks. 50,000 lives you could save. You could. But you won't. But that's how important your behavior is. That's how important it is. George in New York.
Hi, Randy. It seems like Joe Biden should be renamed Charlie Brown because he can never seem to get a break. 4 weeks ago when they were talking about evacuations from Afghanistan, they said there were 12,000, people who helped us during the war, and add their families in, it was 53,000. Well, 2 nights ago, there was a graph on the New York Times website saying that they have to get 250,000 Afghanistans out. So next week, the headline is not going to be Joe Biden gets 150,000 people out of Afghanistan. It's going to be Joe Biden didn't get 130,000 people out.
Well, Donald Trump got no people out. So there you go.
Yeah, I know.
Just remember that.
In fact, Stephen Miller kind of kept anybody from getting their visas processed, probably because they were Muslim.
Oh, definitely. They had a Muslim ban. They actually, created a Muslim ban, and they stopped the processing of visas from Afghanistan, and they were willing to let everybody die, including the 6,000 American citizens that were there. They just walked away. And the same thing with the COVID. They just walked away. They lied about it. The same thing with the big lie and these insurrectionists, okay? He's still telling that big lie. And now you have all these voter suppression efforts. This man is literally determined to destroy the United States of America and our way of life. He is absolutely hell-bent on seeing the end of America, whether it's by death or it's by disease or it's by the homelessness, whatever. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He really, really hates this country, and there are people that are so angry in this country that he appeals to them because they hate it too. Yeah. And that's why they don't feel any responsibility toward any other American citizen, whether they're over in Afghanistan or whether they're 12 and under and can't get a vaccine, and somebody's asking them to do a simple thing like wear a mask to protect children from your droplets. Somebody's just asking a simple thing like go get a vaccination from a coronavirus, vaccination, which we've had forever. I mean, it's this. The mRNA platform is the same platform that we had for freaking tetanus shots. It's the same platform that we had for Zika. It's old. There's nothing new about this. Nothing at all. And by the way, the FDA approval was not just for the safety and efficacy of the vaccine, but also looked at the manufacturing of it to make sure that was safe and that was effective. And that's when you get FDA approval. But too many selfish, self-centered, ideological, religious zealots in this country, anti-mask, are part of the angry Trump legacy that is hobbling America. And it's by design. It's just these are the lower educated voters.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh my God, this week went so fast. So did last week, but it's not happy fast, you know. It's sad fast. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so overwhelming. There's so much going on. But before I forget to mention, California, please vote. Cast your ballots. I know they came by mail by now. You need to just say no recall and vote for whoever in the next election in November in a normal environment. Because if you try a recall in this environment, you could end up with a man who literally gets less than 2% of the vote as your governor. You understand? You're playing with fire. The only reason why you're having an off-year election in the middle of a pandemic at the end of the summer is because the Republicans are counting on your apathy. It's a scam, okay? They're trying to get over on you by having a weird election on a weird day, September 14th. That's a weird day in a non-election year, in the middle of a pandemic, all because they think that they could shove into the governor's mansion some Republican who might get 3% of the vote, might get 2% of the vote, might get 4% of the vote, and that would be your governor. So please send that stupid thing back and just say no and be done with it. All right, Tamara in Missouri.
Hey, Randi.
Hey, Tamara.
Now you know what I deal with here.
Oh, I live in Florida, Tamara.
And remember me calling you last year and saying I wear a mask to protect me from them?
Yeah.
That's why. Because they do not care if they carry the germs, that they give it to you and you die. They don't care if your kid dies. They do not care who they kill.
No, they're killers. I understand, and they want to be killers. They think that.
And that woman
they
should
think
be
they're
ashamed of herself.
She has no shame, Tamara. That's the problem. That's why you can't speak with people like that. They have no shame. They have no character. They have no principles, okay? They have no brain. They have no ability. They have no ability to strategically or tactically think their way out of a situation. She didn't know what the word offense meant, okay?
I know.
So what are you going to do with a person like that? You're going to stay away from them. You're going to shun them. You're going to walk away, stay away, isolate yourself from them until this ends. Until this ends. People like her will allow the virus to mutate. She'll be a host for it. It will become the Lambda variant. It could pierce our vaccines because we did the right thing. Look, you cannot rationalize reason with people that are so ill-informed or disinformed or misinformed, who are loyal to an ideology that is literally hobbling this country on purpose. Okay, they're literally traitors to the greater good. Okay, and that's where we find ourselves. That is where we are. They are so full of anger and resentment and hatred. I live in Florida, Tamara. I get your emails every day. And you always forget, where I live. I am in the middle of a hospital shortage, an oxygen shortage. My mother is 91 years old. She has congestive heart failure, okay? She's not the healthiest person on the planet. She's vaccinated. She masks. But God forbid something happens to her unrelated to COVID. Oh, she's going to be triaged into death. This one's 91. Can't spend any time on her. Because of people like Donia, or whatever her freaking Donia, Whatever her freaking name is, okay? She doesn't even deserve us learning her name. She's such a non-human. She's a parasite. You understand? She's a parasite. Like Lindsey Graham is a parasite. She just sucks power off of anything she thinks is powerful. And she thinks that this strange movement of anti-community, of anti-public health, of anti, concern or care for your fellow man is powerful. She thinks it's giving her some sort of elite status. And what's going to happen is she's going to get sick. She's going to suffer. I hope she doesn't die, but it's for her to deal with. Kathleen in Tennessee.
I can't even believe they put that woman on.
Me, I put her on.
Okay, there we have somebody. It's your fault. Although now we can complain about her, because she's so foolish.
Hey, man, listen, she is one of the many, 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 many phone calls that we get that Brett actually puts on hold, and 99.9% of these little cowards flee before we get to their phone call. They make these...
Good.
They're nasty. They're racist.
They're Trumpers.
They're horrible.
And you know what I'm going to tell Randy? That foolish woman you just had on? I think we can afford to lose these people.
Okay, I am Randy, and I don't think that...
Oh, hello, we can afford to lose these people.
So I don't think we can afford to lose anybody. That's just not my way. I am not that callous or careless or divorced from, my principles that I wish anybody ill. But what's going to happen to people who refuse to deal with this offensively, meaning get a vaccine, best offense you could have. Wear a mask, also a good layer of protection while you're waiting for your antibodies to build up so you can fight this thing. And so you're not contagious. But even if you're vaccinated, remember, I had this superpower. I had COVID in my nose. Now, of course, what the vaccine does is it keeps the virus from replicating. It keeps the virus from going into your lungs, right? But it can live in your face. You could test positive. That's what happened to me. And you know what superpower you have when you're in that state where it's in your face, but you're protected from it infecting your lungs from severe COVID, from, being hospitalized with COVID? If I sneezed on somebody, I could actually not only infect them, but maybe kill them. So she's not the odd duck in this audience. She represents hundreds of calls. Hundreds of them. It's just most of them are so cowardly that they never, ever make it on the air. They just yell at Brett. Like I could hear him yelling at somebody right now. Suzanne in Texas.
Miss Randi, I'm very worried about you and your staff. I hope y'all stay safe. I believe in you 100% and keep up the good work.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. No, we're vaccinated. We're all everybody in this office is vaccinated. Every one of us is vaccinated. And I don't believe there's any one of us who ever goes to a supermarket or a drugstore or any place without a mask on. And we won't, even though we're vaccinated, because we understand that you could carry it in your freaking nose, not know it, and give it to somebody. So as a good offense, which is the best way to win a game, we just do it. It's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. Well, I can't breathe. Well, that's because you smoke. Tony in Texas.
Oh, Randy, that lady, Donia. I'm gonna blow her theory right quick. She doesn't want to wear the mask because she doesn't trust it. Okay, fine. She doesn't want to get the vaccine because she doesn't trust science. She doesn't need any of that because she's got God. Okay, God gave the scientists the knowledge that they have that she doesn't trust. If she doesn't As soon as she gets sick, what's going to happen? She's going to go to the hospital surrounded by people that are, what, wearing masks that she doesn't trust because she doesn't trust doctors.
Oh, it's even weirder, Tony. It's even weirder. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. This is what's going to happen if, God forbid, she gets sick, okay? If she gets sick and she starts to feel really bad, she's going to ask a doctor for help. And that doctor is going to say, well, you're in the first 10 days of your disease, so I can give you Regeneron. Right. And she will allow them to pump her full of this Regeneron, which is less studied, less known, less information about Regeneron is available than is the vaccine. Then is the vaccine. And she won't take the vaccine, but she will beg for Regeneron. Trust me.
And all of that is a part of science that she doesn't trust. And
it's
Pfizer,
not. Listen, why are we kidding ourselves by dealing with what she said? Here's what she meant. She meant, I am a Trumper, and I will do whatever he says, except get vaccinated. He did say that, but she doesn't believe that he got vaccinated or that his kids got vaccinated. She's warped, okay? She is literally the American Taliban.